Towards the end of Parshat Tisa, we are given an image that is really just hard to envision, but we'll try. And that is Moshe comes down from Har Sinai. Vayhi beredet Moshe me Har Sinai, u'Moshe lo yada ki karan. He did not realize that he had light beaming from his skin. And the Midrash we're going to read today deals with where did that light come from? What caused him to have this light beaming forth from his skin? Obviously, it was something subtle because Moshe didn't realize it happened. As an aside, Moshe puts on a mask here at this point. I can't help but point this out. Moshe puts on a mask to help others not suffer from the blinding light that was coming off of him. So Moshe was the first person to wear a mask to protect the well-being of others. So Moshe, in that sense, is a role model once again when it comes to mask wearing. Anyways, the Midrash, we're going to read this together. It's an interesting Midrash. There are different opinions. I want to focus on the last opinion, but I think it's good to see what are the opinions out there about what caused him to have these beams of light. Minayin zacha Moshe lekarnei hahod. What did he do that he merited these beams of they're like these beams of glory? Amar Rabbeinu zichroram livracha. Our sages taught us min hama'ara. He got this from the incident that happens at the rock. What incident? Not the where he hits the rock. Okay? Shenemar, it says earlier in this parsha, Vaya ba'avor kvodi v'samticha b'nikrat hatzur, that God says to Moshe, it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by you, you're going to be in this little cave-like area, and I will pass by. This is when he tells him, you can't see my face, but you can see my back, whatever that means. So Natan HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaf yado alav. So as he's passing by, God placed his hand on Moshe Rabbeinu, umisham zacha lekarnei hahod. And from there, Moshe merited these beams of light that were radiating from his skin because he essentially came into contact with God. That's, I think, what this part of the Midrash is saying. Came into contact. Well, when we come into contact with God, it permanently affects how we radiate towards the world. V'chein hu omer. Further, it says, supporting this idea, Karnai miyado lo v'sham chevyon uzo, that rays has he set at his side, and there is the hiding of his power. Okay, it's a pasuk from Habakkuk that supports this idea. Fine. V'yesh omrim, second opinion. Where did he get the light from? When God was teaching Moshe the Torah up on Har Sinai, he got it. There were sparks that were emanating from the divine presence, whatever that means. And there, Natal Karnei Ahod, from those sparks of the Torah that was being taught from God to Moshe, he got the beams of light. And in some ways, this represents, this second opinion, that when we come into contact with God's Torah, as Moshe did in a very real way, this allows us to radiate out to the world. People can see that we are changed and we are affected in a positive way by that encounter with Torah. Okay, now let's go to the third opinion. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman Amar. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman has a really interesting image here. He says, Haluchot orchon shisha tvachim. The length, if you were holding the luchot, they were 6 handbreadths long, which is actually not that giant, which flies in the face of the image, I think, that's cast in the Ten Commandments movie. Anyways, shisha tvachim, that's about 18 inches or so. So it's very small. Vayomoshe machazik b'shnei tvachim, v'akadosh baruch hu b'shnei tvachim. So here it is. This is the moment of transfer. God's giving the luchot, the tablets, to Moshe. And he says, "Here, I have them for you." And God is holding on to 2 handbreadths out of the 6, and Moshe is holding on to 2 handbreadths out of the 6. And he's handing it to Moshe. Moshe's like, "Okay, I'll take those from you, okay? And God's like, I don't know. And he's kind of holding on to it. And so there are two tfachim in the middle, right? Utfachaim revach ba'emtza. There were these two hand breaths in the middle between God's hands, as it were, and Moshe's hands. Misham natal Moshe karnei ahod. And from those two tfachim in the middle, Moshe got the radiance. What's that all about? So I heard Rabbi J.J. Schachter once explain what's going on here is that Moshe gets the radiance because those two tfachim represented the pull. Right? Moshe had to pull those two tfachim. They are kind of between godliness and between earth and what human beings represent. And he's able to pull those two tfachim down that are in the middle. He's able to take something that is kind of mix of something of heavenly and of earthly, and he is able to bring that down. And it is the idea here, Rabbi Schachter taught myself and others, that this is the idea here being we are supposed to bring holiness down with us from Shamayim. We're supposed to pull it down. It's not easy. We have to bring Kedusha, bring sanctity into our world from upon high. Okay, great. Let's keep going. Rav Shmuel Amar. Rav Shmuel, now fourth opinion. Ad Moshe kotev et HaTorah. So after Moshe wrote the Torah, he's up on Har Sinai, and God is dictating, according to this opinion, and he's writing the Torah. So Nishtayer bakulmus kima ve'eviru al rosho. What happened? Moshe wrote the Torah, and there was a little bit of ink left on the pen when he finished the last word, the last letter. He was done, and there was still ink left on the pen. So God took the pen, took the quill, and he passes it over Moshe. And because of this, Mimenu na'aselo karnei hahod. And this is how he gets these beams of light, these beams of glory from the remaining ink on the pen or the quill that he was writing the Torah. Shenemar Moshe lo yadaki karan. And Moshe did not know that he had these beams of light coming off him. All these different approaches clearly are not ones that Moshe maybe even understood that this change had affected him. You can read the rest of the Midrash to yourself. It's on there, and the English is on the sheet that was attached to the WhatsApp. But I want to focus on this last opinion, that there was ink remaining on the quill, and this is where he gets the light from. I kind of explained the other ones a little bit. There's much more imagery we could try to delve into, but what's with this one? The ink left on the pen, on the quill? So I want to suggest the following. That God probably would have known exactly how much ink was necessary to write the Sefer Torah. And the fact that he gave Moshe a little bit more ink to write that Torah shows that there was something purposefully left over. And God takes the ink and sprinkles it on him almost, as if to say, now you've written the words of the Torah, but now you have to live the words. You have to use the ink, not just to write the Torah, but you have to use those words, represented by the leftover ink, to fill in the parts that are not written. Not everything is written down in the Torah. Yes, there's Torah Sheba'al Peh, for sure, but there are, what I'm referring to here are values. Meaning this is a little bit like the Ramban's interpretation of Kedoshim Tiyu, of, you shall be holy. What does it mean? That things can sometimes be permissible, but they can also be wrong. Being gluttonous in any realm may be permissible, but is not right. And in any given scenario, while we may be able to fulfill the letter of the law, we need to be careful also to understand how to learn the values of the Torah so that the words that are not written, the scenarios that are not covered, because you can't cover everything, we understand how we are supposed to act. The Torah is a guide for life, how to live a life dedicated to God, so that we are upstanding people when it comes to our relationship with God and our relationship with those around us. And part of how we succeed in those relationships between ourselves and God and ourselves and other people is by understanding that the words that are not written also matter. How do we react and act when things are technically permissible, but maybe in the situation we find ourselves, not the best idea? And maybe the extra ink represents just that. And this was the message to Moshe, that's how you have to live your life. And that's what gave him that radiance. It was that extra ink. It was the ability to take the words of the Torah and then in the scenarios that are the gray areas, Moshe knew how to act, how to be, and how to set a great example. May we all succeed this is a very challenging idea. When things are technically okay, but when we read the scenario, we realize maybe this is not the best thing. May we all succeed like Moshe Rabbeinu to be able to radiate out to the world everything about the words in the Torah and everything that's not, and all the positive values that are not explicitly written in the Torah. May we succeed in that journey. Shabbat Shalom.